Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome back to Primetime Local News. Josh Ryan, Abby St. John, reeling you in for another edition of weather, news, sports, and more. Reeling you in because, of course, it's fishing month, and that leads to our question of the day. What is your favorite part about fishing? Neither of us are particularly skilled at angling, but it's interesting reading about it and certainly hearing stories from other people who fish all the time.
Yeah, I know my uncle is and my cousin, they're huge fishers, and I've seen pictures of them coming back, and they just have these ginormous fish, and I'm like, wow, it's impressive because they'll have their freezer full of fish at the end of the day, and it's just insane.
Guessing that they probably pack on the protein then, as most fishers would. For now, though, let's go out to Eric Bay. He was on location earlier.
Thanks, guys. Well, today we will be talking with Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services about the upgrades they have undergone here to try to improve the experience of some people who are going through a tough time. So we'll be checking out their facilities and what they have done to improve the place. We'll also be talking a little bit about what they do have coming up here as they are still looking to upgrade. We will mention it's a very old building they are in, so they'll be still going through some upgrades here coming up that they will be talking about here shortly. But before we get to that, we're going to head back to the studio, and Abby will take a look at your local news.
Thanks, Eric. Well, we are following breaking news this hour. RCMP say they believe they have found the bodies of 2 BC murder suspects who were the subject of a nationwide manhunt. 2 male bodies thought to be Briar Schmogelski and Cam McLeod were found near the Nelson River in northern Manitoba today by officers searching on foot. Police say the bodies were found not far from where a damaged aluminum boat and items belonging to the suspects were recently discovered.
This morning at approximately 10 a.m., RCMP officers located 2 male bodies in the dense brush within 1 kilometer from where the items were found. This is approximately 8 kilometers from where the burnt vehicle was located. At this time, we believe these are the bodies of the 2 suspects wanted in connection with the homicides in British Columbia.
Tax time is well past for most residents in the border city, but there's an important deadline ahead for nonprofit organizations. The City of Lloydminster announced that property tax exemption applications are due at the end of September for any additions to the city. Josh Ryan has more.
The latest public notice from City Hall that new nonprofits must apply for tax exemptions within 53 days could give an important relief to those organizations.
We wanted to make sure that if we've missed anyone on the list of nonprofits or nonprofits that have established themselves in the city, they're aware of the tax exemption that exists for a nonprofit that meets the certain requirements. And that's through the charter as well as through provincial regulations.
If nonprofits can meet the requirements for an exemption put forth by the Lloydminster Charter and the provincial government, then they can put in an application prior to September 30th. Starting in 2017, City Council changed the annual cycle to 3 years.
So rather than them apply annually, city administration have to go through every one of those applications annually. We deemed it out a 3-year period.
It saves on staffing time to fill out paperwork, and then obviously it's a cost that we don't have to worry about paying each year.
The saved funds from a 3-year cycle provides more opportunity for each organization.
If we have additional funding, it just goes into our programming. So the more funding we have, the more programming we can provide.
Now, every nonprofit that applies for a tax exemption this year and is approved will still have to do so again in 2020. However, if they are then approved in 2020, they join the 3-year cycle with other nonprofits who have been successful in the past.
Intent is to try and make this every 3 years so it's easier for administration, easier for the nonprofits, and easier for city councils rather than we have to go through this annually every year.
And while the opportunity to apply again for previously rejected applicants is there, the standard for exemptions remains in place.
The requirements are pretty stringent, as you can appreciate, because they have certain guidelines, and that's where I would refer them to.
Josh Ryan, Primetime Local News.
Residents in the Lakeland area will get a chance to have their voices heard this Friday. The Agricultural Minister of Alberta is making a stop in Vermilion. At the event, they will be focusing on Bill 6 and what the current government wants to do with reforming that bill and putting a new act in place.
The Ag Minister Devin Dreeshen out, one of the promises we made was to repeal Bill 6 and then replace it with a Farm Safety Act. And he promised to go around the province and consult with farmers. So this is our opportunity in this constituency for farmers and interested people at large to come out and talk about what they'd like to see.
They're hoping to get a local perspective and chat with farmers who have had firsthand experience with the bill, as they can speak about the struggles they've had with it.
One of the problems with it is it added a lot of process and red tape, and we want to reduce red tape. We want to take process out, and we want common sense solution is what we're looking to do. And the best way to get that is from the people who are involved in the industry.
The event is taking place at the Ag Society office in Vermilion on Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. This month is the worst for vehicle theft, according to Alberta RCMP. As our Tegan Gieselbrecht reports, local RCMP are trying to handle it.
Local RCMP are reminding people to take care of their vehicles and belongings during this month, where vehicle thefts are at its peak.
Property crime has always been a priority for the Lloydminster detachment here. Right now, our new crime reduction unit is in place. You're going to see, like I said before, a lot more uniformed members out in the streets, a lot more police presence in the community.
From June to August 2018, there was 3,200 vehicle thefts and 3,600 reported thefts from vehicles in Alberta. But these types of thefts don't follow a pattern.
Thefts from vehicles and property theft of this nature is very random. It's a crime of opportunity. There are people who are taking these things, are walking by cars, they're checking door handles, looking inside, they're seeing that brand new iPad sitting on your front of your car. They're checking to see if that door's unlocked, and if it's unlocked, that iPad's going.
To prevent these thefts, RCMP came up with an idea, the 9 p.m. challenge.
The RCMP calls it the 9 p.m. challenge. So what that means is 9 p.m., you should always ask yourself, are my belongings removed from my car? Is my car locked? Do I have my keys for my car? That's really what it boils down to. Bring your stuff inside. Don't leave any valuables in your vehicle.
Lloyd resident Lydia Willems is taking steps to avoid her vehicle being broken into.
I always make sure that my vehicle is locked at all times, that I'm not in attendance in the vehicle. Also to make sure that there aren't any items that would be something that somebody would want to take, so no valuables in sight.
And Lydia isn't the only one.
Don't keep any electronics in the vehicle and make sure my doors are locked. I have my mirrors go in to tell me that my doors are locked on my vehicle, so it's another safety feature to make sure it's locked.
Tegan Gieselbrecht, Primetime Local News.
Now we're going to Eric Bay, who was on location today.
Once again, we are back here at the Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services talking about the upgrades that they have made here on their facility. And now Carly Pollard joins me. So can you tell us a little bit about the importance of making these upgrades here on your building?
Yes, absolutely. So we are in a 1927 building. And so naturally, we're going to need to do some renovations, some upgrading throughout the years. So this was really important to us because we were expanding our services. We were developing new services, programs for our community. So the thought process with the renovations and who we were working with, the decor, pretty much anything you see when you walk through the door is a process that has a lot of intention behind it. So to create that warmth, that safety for anyone who comes into our center and is seeking services for no matter what topic that may be, it is absolutely important that we remember that sexual violence is not an easy thing for anyone to talk about, let alone come in and seek services for. So creating an environment that makes them feel that safety is super important to us and for the community as well.
And now just real quick, you mentioned that warmth, creating that feeling of safety. So can you talk about the thought process and the work that went in behind completing these renovations?
Yes, absolutely. It was an 18-month roughly process. So it was lengthy, but when you look at how long it took for it to finish up, it was done with grace and it was done with a lot of thought, and we wanted it to be what we wanted it to be. And we think of our clients and we think of anyone in the community that comes in here, and it's important for them. So that's why it's okay if it takes a little while, right? So it was a lot of thought process for sure.
All right, thank you for this. We're going to have some more back here once again, but before that, we're going to head back into the studio.
Thank you very much, eBay. 21 degrees in the border cities, so we certainly warmed up a little bit since yesterday afternoon. Still a fair amount of cloud cover, of course, but enough sunlight that keeps most people happy when they're outdoors. So relatively nice day, even though it's a little below seasonal averages. Your record's 30 in 2007, 7 back in 1995, so a little on the cool side back then. Your wind speeds, of course, certainly calmer than they were yesterday as well. We had 20-plus kilometer gusts, sitting at about 12, 13 kilometers at the moment. We may get a few gusts near 20 kilometers, but the wind should start to calm down slowly over the next 2 or 3 hours. Now, your watches and warnings, nothing in the Saskatchewan region. On the Alberta side, there is a severe thunderstorm watch west of Edmonton. When that low pressure system makes its way across the border later on today, so basically between about 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning. When that part of the day happens, that could be a chance that there's some precipitation, but at the moment there's none being called for in Lloydminster or the surrounding area. Your current temperature is 21 in Cold Lake as well as over in Athabasca, 23 in Edmonton, 26 out in Jasper, so they're certainly enjoying a nice time out in the mountains, then 17 in Edson, 19 in Red Deer, and on the Sask side, both Prince Albert and Melfort sitting at 19 degrees, while North Battleford and Saskatoon are sitting at 21 apiece. Your 3-day forecast then, 21 with a low of 10 expected tomorrow. Again, a largely sunny day expected as well. That wind will shift to the north-northwest on Friday, where they're expecting 19 degrees and a low of 12, then 18 and 7 on Saturday, so steadily below average temperatures for this time of the year, but a fair amount of sun expected and not exactly overpowering winds coming out of largely the north. So looks like it could be a nice 3 days here. That's it for your 3-day forecast. We'll have your 7-day later on in the show.
Welcome back. Well, a grain market analysis says large world grain supplies are weighing on wheat and canola prices. Neil Townsend with FarmLink Marketing Solutions says wheat this fall is expected to be around $6 to $7 a bushel, while for canola he forecasts $9 to $50 to $9.75 a bushel. Townsend says Argentina has a big crop and may set a new record for wheat shipments in the coming year. He adds Canada also faces trade obstacles with China as well as India. Townsend says some of the high-quality Canadian wheat may be shipped to the U.S. because of low quality in the U.S. winter wheat harvest. And now we're going to take a look at your egg prices.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
Fall is just around the corner, which of course means football season. And now more than ever, head injuries are being discussed surrounding contact sports. Our Josh Park had the chance to chat with a local football coach about the measures being taken to ensure players are having fun while practicing safe habits.
It's everywhere, especially surrounding football and the NFL.
12 of 19 in this half. Oh my goodness! Goodwin just got unloaded upon by Blake Countess, and then the flags flew from every angle.
Head injuries are causing lifelong complications among athletes, and the conversation around them is getting louder. That's why certain practices and precautions are now being taken much more seriously, and Lloydminster Minor football is no different. Safe tackling is at the top of the priority list.
Times have changed. There's a lot more training aids. We do a lot of tackling against bags, or a lot of low impact tackling, or just learning technique and the fundamentals so that the kids can understand, gain some confidence on how to tackle and proper positioning before we start going into game situations.
One of the ways Football Canada is doing their part to ensure safe contact at all levels is implementing new training and contact modules about proper tackling.
With Football Canada introducing their safe contact module and training progression, it's been good. It gives coaches across the country a chance to understand and the proper way to teach tackling.
In the new age of football and safe contact, there's one main focus when bodies are crashing on the gridiron.
You know, right now, the big push on, like you said, is just making sure that your head is out of the tackle. So we're teaching always to keep your head up, see the tackle. We want to lead with the chest, you know, hit with the breastplate. We want to make sure we've got, you know, bent knees, properly bending at the hips, knees, driving up through the ball carrier, and then, you know, making sure that we're not ducking our head and putting ourselves in a position where we can be hurt.
Another new practice used by minor football organizations is pre-screening. Prior to the season, certain tests are done, allowing trainers to more easily diagnose a concussion during the season. If one thing is certain, the game of football has a lot of critics. But with new training techniques and equipment, those involved in the game are confident that right now, football is safer than ever. Josh Park, Primetime Local Sports.
Now we're going to Eric Bay, who was on location.
Once again, we are back here with Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services talking about the upgrades they have made here to their building, and I'm joined now by Carly Pollard. So first off, can you tell us a little bit about those upgrades you guys have made?
Yes, absolutely. In 2017, we noticed that we had a lot of growth with our staff and with our services we were providing, so it was natural for us to start a fundraiser that was called the Farmers Floor. So a lot of donations were brought in by different community members, and it started there, and we were able to revamp our educational training space. And from there, we had a donation, a generous donation from the Fred North Charitable Foundation, as well as the Riken Group, that kind of extended beyond the Farmers Floor. We were able to rename our enhanced branch, which is the North Riken Enhanced Services now. That covers a lot of different areas, a lot of different supports for our clients. So that would be our trauma-informed yoga program, our mindful play and art integration, anger management, just to name a few programs that were able to be enhanced and also have a new home.
And now we are on one of those floors that has been upgraded. I know we have the child center back there. So can you talk a little bit about the upgrades you did make here on this floor?
Okay, so on this floor, we have our training space. It houses lots of workshops, a lot of opportunities for community members to learn about prevention, how to support survivors, a lot of great educational opportunities in here. In the back, we also have our Little Bear Child and Youth Advocacy Center. So that is a branch that is so exciting for our staff and for our community to have.
All right, thank you for this. We are going to have some more from back here with Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services, but before that, we're going to head back into the studio.
Thanks once again, Eric Bay. Your next 24 hours, we're going to see a fairly quick drop by the time we get to 10 p.m. for temperatures, and we'll get down to 10 degrees by 4 or 5 a.m., but it's a quick turn up by about 9 a.m. So it goes from about 12 degrees to 17 in a span of just a couple of hours, and we'll get into the low 20s by supper time. So still a warm but under average temperature day for the border city. You can see here the wind chill picking up a little bit tomorrow compared to today, so that will bring the temperature down or make the feeling of the temperature down by a couple of degrees. Still, again, largely warm day expected for the afternoon in the border city. 21 degrees is also the temperature in Vermilion and in Vegreville. Edmonton holding strong at 23 degrees. A little cooler up north in Lac La Biche at 19. 20 in Bonnyville, 21 in Cold Lake, 20 in both Marwayne, St. Paul, and Pierceland. And on the other side of the map here, 19 as well in Isla Crosse, 20 in Green and Meadow Lake, and St. Walburg as well, sitting at 20 degrees. The further south you go, a little bit warmer, 21 in Maidstone and North Battleford. Provost and Mackland both sitting at 23 degrees as well. Now your North Battleford temperature here at 21 degrees will drop to 8 overnight. The wind again shifting from the northwest to the east and certainly slowing down. 21 kilometers at the moment, be an average of 9 kilometers overnight, an average of 11 kilometers tomorrow when it shifts to the southeast, but a little bit warmer temperature at 22 degrees, some cloud cover, but still a nice day expected for the Battlefords. 21 degrees in Cold Lake, giving way to 10 overnight, then 20 tomorrow with a chance of rain and heavy cloud cover. The wind also shifting from the northwest to the southeast and also calming down, should be in single digits over the next 24 hours, starting at around 9 or 10 p.m. this evening. Now in Lloydminster, 21 degrees dropping to 10, right back up to 21 with a little more sunlight expected tomorrow. That shift from the northwest to the southeast, also a little bit more calm, but we could get gusts of closer to 20 kilometers at various points throughout the day. And your 7-day forecast, 19 degrees on Friday with a low of 12, and then 18 on Saturday with a low of 7. Couple of cooler days expected over these next 7. 15 degrees on Sunday, then 16 on Monday before we bounce back to 19 on Tuesday, where unfortunately there's a strong chance of rainfall there with winds coming out of the south-southeast. 21 and 11 to finish off the 7 days on Wednesday. A 41% chance of precipitation as well on that day, though there is a little bit more sunlight. On Monday, along with the 16-degree high, there's a 25% chance of precipitation and heavy cloud cover there. So definitely a little cooler than what we'll be used to for this time of the year, but only one day at the moment expected to have heavy rainfall. That's been your 7-day forecast. We'll be right back after these messages.
Now we're going to Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Once again, we are back here with Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services, and we have been talking about the upgrades that they have recently made to their building, and Carly Pollard joins me once again. And now again, we've talked a little bit about what you guys have done, but it is a fairly old building, so you guys are still looking to do some other stuff as well here.
Yeah, we do have a 1927 building. It is on the older side. We always have those different alterations and the different renovations going on and that we might need to do in the future. We know that we have to do our roof eventually, and there's some of those little upgrades that we need to do. So that community support is super important when we are putting on events such as Walk a Mile. A lot of that funding will go towards our upgrades, our programs, our services, whatever we are needing at that time.
And you mentioned Walk a Mile, they're obviously coming up soon, so if people want to get involved, say with that or anything else, how can they do so and help out the center here?
So with Walk a Mile, it's super exciting this year. We have the Dirt Rich Band that is headlining their entertainment. If anyone in the community wants to come out, have a good time, while we are raising awareness around sexual violence, the way that you can get involved is through sponsorship. So if your business is looking to maybe sponsor the event, or even if you want to register a team or an individual, registration is also accepted. We encourage anybody, it doesn't matter your gender, your age, if you're a child or adult, it does not matter. We welcome everybody out, and it's a great opportunity for community involvement.
And now just real quick, if anybody just wants to donate just off chance, off by hand, how can they do so with that? Contact you guys.
Okay, so with our registration for Walk a Mile, as well as any donations, you can go to our website, which is www.walkamilelloydminster.com, and on there it allows you to make a monetary donation or register your team or your individual registration.
All right, thank you for this. We are going to have some more back from here once again, talking with Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services. But before we get to that, we're going to head back into the studio.
And our question of the day, of course, what is the best part about fishing? A number of people saying the best part is the actual feeling of when you realize what you've caught, when you've reeled it in. The two biggest ones mentioned on the page, a 20-pound pike,
That's
significantly big fish, but also a 250-pound marlin.
Wow. That must have been really, I would have loved to have seen how they got the fish onto the boat, because that probably was a fight.
Yeah, a blue marlin to be specific. I guess those who are out there and are big fishermen probably want to make sure the fish is right. But that's many pounds heavier than me.
Yeah, that's very impressive. That's like 2.5 of me. So that's pretty impressive that they were able to catch that fish.
And impressive means they must keep up with their fitness if they can handle the physical strength of that fish. We'll see how physically fit these pets are next in our Pet of the Day contest. Hunter looks like he's pretty fit.
Just adorable. Probably on a scavenger hunt, probably looking for something, but very cute.
Lily, not exactly a scavenger hunt, but enjoying wherever she is.
It looks like she's on a tree. Very cat-like, very cute.
Indeed, indeed. Millie's not on a tree, but I think she wins the adorable contest.
Oh, 100%. The slight head tilt and the gorgeous blue eyes, just melting my heart.
Posy, who's looks like he's on his way to enjoy the long weekend.
Yes, very cute and very unique name as well. Very, very well-rounded.
And Toto to finish things off, who might be going fishing.
Just adorable, just so cute.
And remember, always submit your pet's name along with the picture to have a chance at that free gift card.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Welcome back to Primetime Local News. In studio with me, Josh Park. He's not going to be here at the end of the summer, so we had to get a Josh and Josh segment in before the year was done. So pleasure to have you in studio. Very excited to talk sports with you as we do in the office all the time. Let's go right to the main topic of discussion, which is Marcus Stroman leaving the Jays. Do you like what they got back for him, first of all?
First of all, when you make a trade like this, especially when you're distributing one of your top pitchers, I was watching a video this morning and they were saying that when you're getting prospects in return in this sort of deal, especially with pitchers, it's something that you're going to have to let pan out, and you're not going to know right off the bat if you're going to get a good deal in return, right? Because a lot of these guys have never pitched in the MLB before. You're getting prospects back in return. It's not like another type of deal where you're going to have players that you can plug right into your lineup right off the bat. So this is something the Blue Jays aren't really going to know for a while until this is a deal that they got something they liked in return. But off the bat, I've heard some speculation that it isn't exactly the return they wanted right off the hop, especially because they dealt him to a team that wasn't necessarily a contender, right? The Mets coming into this they're 50-55. They're 6 games back of the wild card spot. So you almost think that if they would have sent him to a team that was more of a contender, maybe the Yankees, maybe the Astros, maybe they could have got a better deal in return. But we'll have to see what happens with these prospects.
And that's obviously disappointing then when you consider the legacy of the player that he was. You know, one of the last guys that was a high-profile member, of course, of that 2015-2016 run where they were, you know, a game or two away from making it to the World Series. And while he was controversial to some because of how opinionated he was on social media, how many mini feuds he had with management, here's still a guy who embraced Toronto. And they always talk about that, you know, a guy like DeRozan, a guy like Lowry, who aren't from Canada but end up loving the city. You see them at Leafs games. And that's what you want when you bring guys in. So a lot of people will be unhappy to see him go.
Well, they say there's 2 traits that you get with Marcus Stroman. One, he's a big game pitcher. Obviously, we've seen that wild card game against the Orioles, those 2 huge starts in the ALDS against the Texas Rangers, especially even going back to his time, not even the MLB, but at the World Baseball Classic when he started for Team USA, right? He had a couple of huge starts for them, including that final game when he went 6 hitless innings. He was the tournament MVP. So you're getting a big game pitcher in him, but you're also getting a big personality. There was some speculation yesterday after the big trade that there was actually a bit of a commotion in the Blue Jays locker room when Stroman actually found out that he got traded to the Mets, because apparently him and his party were hoping that he was going to go to a contender. So there's 2 things you're going to get out of Marcus Stroman. One, you're going to get a huge big game pitcher, but you're also going to get a big personality.
Big personality indeed. And a league that is full of big personalities is the National Football League. What's the biggest story for you heading into camp? I know for many people it's been the Browns, but there's plenty of other stories, whether it's can the Patriots do it again? How are the Steelers going to rebound this year? Many new quarterbacks in new situations. Is it the Browns or is it something else?
You actually already touched on it. I hate to go right to it because you already mentioned it, but it's the Cleveland Browns coming into this season. You have Baker Mayfield, your starting quarterback. His sample size in the NFL isn't huge so far. What we've seen out of him, people are starting to love it, but they've plugged a few crucial pieces into that offense. Obviously now your receiving core is dynamite. You got Jarvis Landry and arguably one of the best in the league in Odell Beckham Jr. So that's an offense, if it can really mix and it can really sort of get the ball rolling, it's going to be dynamite. But with that Cleveland Browns team, it's really a matter of waiting and seeing if they can actually produce on the field.
And that, of course, will be a tough blow for Browns fans if they can't get the job done, because remember, this team has won only a handful of games in recent years, and there are few sport franchises in history that have suffered more than the Cleveland Browns fan base.
Hey, it's Justin Marshall from Cool 101.3 in Bonnyville and Boom 95.3 in Cold Lake, and here's what's happening around the Lakeland. Well, today we're in beautiful Glendon, Alberta. We're coming up on Saturday. It's the 30th anniversary of the Glendon Demolition Derby and Mud Bog, and of course the Glendon Ag Society putting this on. Stacey Sandmeyer joins me now. She is the president. And how have you kept this going for 30 years? That's impressive.
Yes, 30 years is an amazing amount of time, but we have great volunteers that help us out. We have drivers that want to be here, that have a lot of fun putting on a great show, and people want to come and watch it, so we keep putting it on.
Why do you think people love coming out to watch the Demolition Derby and the Mud Bugs?
It's a great family event. We have a lot of things that children can do here. We have a play world. We have also great food vendors. We have of course, the libation and the activity, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of loud noise, and people just love it.
What can people expect on Saturday?
We have a great day in Glendon, starting with the pancake breakfast in the morning at 8:30, a farmer's market we have going on. We also have a parade in town starting at 10:30. The firemen put on a barbecue if you're interested, or you can come out at the grounds open at 11. We have great food vendors, and we just have everything starting, and you'll want to be here. You'll want to probably come and bid on your favorite driver, try to win some money if he wins or she wins, and it's just a full day of fun.
$20 to get in for adults. Get more details at boom953.ca. Stacey, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Justin. We really appreciate your sponsorship.
And if you have an event you would like to feature on What's Happening, shoot me an email, jmarshall@stingray.com.
Back in studio with Josh and Josh, the only time you'll get it this year. We're going to go through a couple of different topics as quickly as possible, mainly touching on some of the biggest events that have happened in the sporting world this summer, because it's been a pretty great sports summer, despite how slow it feels right now. Let's go right to hockey, Josh, and simply look at the recent events with the Oilers and the Flames. You obviously have the Lucic and Neal swap, but the thing people aren't talking about as much is Mike Smith is now an Oiler, Cam Talbot is now a Flame, plus Rittich re-signing. So another full swap and two teams with real questions at goaltending.
I think the case in both of these deals, Josh, is that this was a simple change of scenery, not only for the Lucic and Neal deal, but also the Talbot and Smith deal. These are two goalies that didn't necessarily produce up to what people thought they were going to last year, especially with Cam Talbot. Maybe Mike Smith a little bit better, especially in the playoffs. He actually came through for them not bad in the postseason.
I was a strong defender of him, I got to say, as a diehard Flames fan. He might have had some struggles in the regular season, still solid goaltender, definitely played well in the postseason. Continue.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Mike Smith definitely pulling it through in the postseason. But the thing with this Lucic-Neal deal is I'm a big fan of it. Coming from an Oilers fan perspective, I think that Lucic, his time at Edmonton had simply run out. It's a change of scenery needed for him. And I think that James Neal is coming off of a year in which this was James Neal, his sample size from last season isn't a true essence of the player he is. I think he's really going to bounce back, and I think he's going to fill in real nicely on that second line with the Nuge. I'm serious.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were correct on that. We'll have to see how those goaltenders again do, because these are two teams that really don't feel as confident in their number ones as maybe some other teams in the league do. Looking at maybe the medal podium when you come to the big events of the summer. Bronze medal, because it's less relevant for many people. We'll start with Wimbledon. We've never had a tiebreak in a fifth set, and it's always the same names that end up in that final, Federer and Djokovic.
I think especially coming out of this final Wimbledon, Josh, there's a lot of debate on who the GOAT is. Yeah. In tennis, is it Djokovic? Is it Federer? Obviously Federer getting a little bit to the later parts of his career. Djokovic seemed to handle him a little bit more in this Wimbledon one, although that it did go, this was a lengthy tennis match, Josh, but I think that especially late in that match, you were seeing that Federer was starting to make a couple of unforced errors, and even I think the whole essence of that final match, we talked about it earlier, was that final point in which Federer went for the forehand volley and the ball ended up flying up into the grandstand. But it's a match for the ages, to say the least.
Yeah, one I was definitely happy to watch, and it'll be interesting to watch these guys over the next couple of years. Is that the last time Federer has a chance to win a major, as he's 37 now? Obviously Djokovic, if he can stay healthy, got to think he has a shot at pushing past that all-time mark of 20 Grand Slams. Now, on to the silver medal, which is this Game 7 between the Blues And the Bruins, no one wanted to see the Bruins win aside from Bruins fans, and fortunately everyone was happy with the result, especially when we got to hear Brett Hull sing during the parade. Despite not having the ratings people wanted, it was a pretty great Stanley Cup playoffs and great final.
I think the story for the St. Louis Blues as a whole, Josh, was really remarkable. You look back at what their season was looking like in early parts of January, this team was dead last in the NHL, Josh. So the fact that they were able to come back, really rally, especially, I think that people are saying one of the turning points in that season was actually that fight, that huge altercation they had in one of their practices. Is all of a sudden it was a culture change for them, and they were able to really get the wheels under themselves, and you love to see a team kind of bounce back like that. It was a remarkable season for them.
And it was a remarkable season as well for the Toronto Raptors. No one picked them at the beginning of the season to win the NBA championship, not even people who work in Toronto, outside of their own fan base and their own management group, able to beat an injured Warriors team, obviously, but some really impressive wins against teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Philadelphia 76ers. As much as it sucks to see Kawhi Leonard go, this may have been the biggest sporting moment in Canadian sports history since Sid's goal in 2010.
This is going to go down as one of the biggest moments, as you mentioned, Josh, in Canadian sports history, not only for the Toronto Raptors, but just the entire nation as a whole. Obviously, everyone is sad to see Kawhi Leonard go, but what he brought to Canada, no one has ever brought before. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, DeMar DeRozan, no one has ever brought an NBA championship to Toronto. So this moment is going to go down in history for Canada.
And obviously, hopefully will spawn a new generation of basketball stars. Vince Carter brought along Andrew Wiggins, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph. Perhaps Kawhi Leonard will bring on that next #1 pick coming from north of the border.